Marc Brody joins me now from Los Angeles. He is the president of Panda Mountain, a conservation and community development organization, as well as the president of the U.S. China Environmental Fund. Marc, thank you so much for joining us.
Happy to be here.
Well, we just saw this story about drones helping locate pandas in the wild in China. How has tech changed conservation in recent years?
Well, I think staying with the pandas, technology has profoundly improved the pandas' survival, certainly in captivity. I don't know that there's been a greater success story since the middle 80s. Panda populations were crashing, bamboo was flowering, and there was a sense of panic that pandas were truly in peril. And then two big things happened. China's commitment to panda habitat protection, and then breakthroughs essentially in veterinary science. Panda biologists have overcome many challenges of breeding pandas in captivity. And there was a target, it was an ambitious target in the 80s to reach 200 pandas in captivity. Now we're probably over 500 pandas in captivity. So science in terms of animal behavioral science, understanding how pandas think, what they need in the wild, that's taken quantum leaps forward.
Well, you mentioned the growth of the panda population over the years, and that recently moved from the endangered category to vulnerable status. So where do things stand right now? Is it continuing to trend upward? And what are some of the challenges that still remain?
Well, I think to clarify things, it's really important to make the distinction between wild panda population and captive panda population. I was speaking before about the breakthroughs in science for captive pandas, those in breeding centers and zoos. The wild panda population is gaining ground. It's now just beginning to return to those levels that were initially documented. Every 10 years, there's a panda census of pandas in the wild. And it's still below the original census, those numbers. So I don't think we can say that victory is yet won for pandas in the wild, but I think tremendous progress has been made. And I think most notably for pandas in particular, China has a new, very significant national initiative to create national parks. Different than what we might think of national parks in the United States. China's idea of national parks are even a grander scale. In the case of the giant panda, this giant panda national park encompasses all panda habitat. It's the first time all panda habitat is under one unified management, stretching across 3 provinces.
And tell us more about that, because we've talked about that over the years, where you have these corridors going through the wilderness, allowing the pandas to basically move from one area to the other. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. So one of the greatest challenges for all larger mammal endangered species is habitat fragmentation. And so, as you've rightly said, corridors are vital. But what I think is important for people to appreciate is it's not corridors through wilderness lands, it's corridors in navigating highways, rivers, farming, industry, mining. There's a range of things spread across these 3 provinces. So if you think about panda habitat, they're a very narrow crescent of land that stretches from the southwest, moving more towards the northeast, across the Sichuan Basin. So those corridors are still trying to be planned and restored. There's a lot of disturbances for pandas, and you have subpopulations where there are small pockets of pandas isolated from one another. And so one of the goals of the national park is to create these corridors, not through wilderness, but to look for ways to reconnect fragmented habitat.
Marc Brody keeping us up to date. Thank you so much for joining us from Los Angeles.